What is up, everybody? Grant Wise here. Welcome to the Marketing Genius Podcast. I am pumped today to be joined by Mr. Dusty Baker, just an incredible realtor over in the California markets, I believe, right? Yes. And this guy is, 40 under 40 in the Pacific Coast Business Times magazine, just an incredible real estate agent. And today he's going to kind of stop by and just share some of the strategies, some of the tactics that maybe he's used in the past to become one of those agents. And hopefully you guys get a ton of value from it today. So Dusty, man, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, Grant, what's going on, man? This will be fun. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump right into it, man. What's your story? Who are you and how did you get to where you are today?
Oh, man. Well, I'm Dusty Baker. Anyone listening who's a baseball fan, I was named after the professional baseball player. And I know him as a Dodger, by the way. He's most known for the Giants, but he played for the Dodgers first. So I'm killing his name because I never played baseball. And I'm a tall, white guy, and he's a muscular black dude. He was a professional baseball player. I never got into sports in that way. But this is my 10th year in the business. I got in really organically, starting as an intern in college just to get out of the classroom and learn a trade. I got into real estate, got to know a real top producing team, was an intern, then an assistant, then got licensed, became a partner. We built a team. I had this partner for about 7.5, 8 years. So I got really lucky, got to be groomed by the best. I'm born and raised here. I'm in Santa Barbara. My office is in Montecito, which is a little suburb of Santa Barbara. But I'm born and raised here. I know a lot of people here. So I got just really lucky. A lot of the top agents really formed me and groomed me. So I've had these incredible mentors my whole career, which has really helped because in the beginning, you just don't know what you don't know. So 10th year in, I'm at Sotheby's International Realty, a great company. Like I said, I'm based in Montecito, so in Santa Barbara, Carpinteria, Summerlin. We're spoiled. I mean, my whole radius is maybe 10 miles, maybe even less, logistically, whereas I know parts of LA and bigger cities are within, 80 miles or so. So we're pretty spoiled here. The ocean is maybe 2 blocks from my office. So it's a good area out here, and I'm stoked to be out here and work with clients.
That's awesome, man. I love it. So when you say that you were, pretty fortunate, you got to grow up with some good teams, what would you feel was one of the most beneficial things to coming into the business that way? I know so many people come into the industry and they've got no idea what to do. And I can imagine starting on a team totally changes that if the team does what they commit to doing. But how do you feel like that had an impact on you and your trajectory?
Well, it wasn't a traditional team. It was just working as an intern under a top producer who had an assistant. So we were kind of a team, but not now. The word team means something quite a bit different. So it wasn't a team frankly, 10 years ago, there were no teams like there are now. It's very, very new.
Right. Yeah.
But it helped with everything because I can't imagine, once again, I'm local here, so I know the market so well. I can't imagine. I know people that move to a new location, become an agent, and just go. I mean, that's much respect to people like that. That seemed insane to me. But I got to be, like I said, groomed. I worked insanely hard, and I did the crappiest work you can imagine. I mean, I don't know if you know what a BPO is. It's a broker price opinion. And the guy I partnered with was in connection with all the major banks. So this is, once again, 2008. So over the subsequent 4 or 5 years, a lot of it was bank-owned sales. And we actually had some huge bank-owned sales. Even rich people lost money back then. But I did, the broker price opinions for these banks. I would do 5 to 7 a day for a while. I've logged literally thousands of BPOs. So I got to cut my teeth with just a lot of data input, a lot of market research. We had to full on manage bank-owned properties. If you've ever sold one, you have to manage it like it's like you're a property manager. You put all the utilities in your name. You have to stop by once a week to take pictures, and all utilities are still on. You get reimbursed to the back end. Everything is submitted through an online platform. So just ridiculous amounts of grunt work up front. But my partner at the time was a great guy. I'm still in touch with him. Still awesome guy. But his whole business mentality is, he's like, listen, there's no egos here. We're like firefighters. Whoever can jump down that pole and put that fire out, doesn't matter if it's the captain or the intern. We just need it to get done. There's a lot of things that have to get done. and you just got to do it. So that was my mentality. So, I mean, my first mini listings were bank owned. So it was just brutal process, way more work than ever before. And just a lot of stupid crap we had to do. And it was all done in a really humble fashion. So, now obviously I'm significantly more successful. My sales are in the multi-millions. But still, like I was, buying some smoke detectors literally an hour ago because the appraiser went through and they were missing a few. So I was like, shoot, so we got to put it together. And my buyers were floored that I would stoop to that level. I was like, listen, I keep deals together. It doesn't matter if it's me or my assistant that does this. We just need to get it done. And they appreciate that. So that's really where I am now, is 150% from being able to see what these other guys are doing, what these top agents are doing, and top agents that are humble, hardworking, that, they're not the $1 million listing, type of mentality. They're just hard workers that you'd never, necessarily read about in the newspapers, but are making a lot of money.
Yeah. Now, as you kind of got to study top producers and as you became a top producer, what do you feel were, some of the biggest contributing factors to finding the customers that would kind of take you there? I mean, was there any secret sauce, marketing angle, sales strategy? I mean, what did you do to find customers to put yourself in that position?
In the beginning, I didn't have as much strategies. Now I have insane strategy of how I get new clients. But in the very beginning, my mentality was, listen, if I just knock it out of the park with and the numbers I'll throw out now, our median sales price is like $1.4 million. So anything lower than even $1 million is pretty low. But even if I had like a $300,000 one-bedroom condo in the worst part of town, I would knock it out of the park. The best professional photographer, the best brochures, the best marketing strategy, because at the end of the day, those people know a lot of people also, and everyone's watching everything that you do. And if they see you doing a poor job over here, they'll just assume you're going to do a poor job over there. So a lot of my kind of early growth into higher end sales and more clients was just doing a really good job every single chance that I got. Because once you actually listen, first few years, it's hard to get a buyer, a seller, just even one. So once you get that, you just make it perfect. And then, inevitably you get some referral business that way. And I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I really do work extremely hard, and I'd like to be a master of my craft. And I get so much referral business and so much repeat business. To date, knock on wood, I've never had a client work with me and then leave and work with someone else, ever, not once. And it's because they see that actually I do a good job. I'm sure it'll happen at some point. But that was early on. I just figured, listen, if I can just crush it, knock it out of the park, every chance that I'm actually given the opportunity, I think it'll grow. Now, fast forward, you do get to a point where there's a glide, hit the ceiling and you have to shift a little bit. So now I've got this incredible business coach, and we're a lot more strategic in, okay, who's the avatar of your perfect client? What are they doing? Are they reading local newspapers? Are they online? Are they on social media? What's the exact neighborhood? So a lot more strategy now and figuring out how to reach these people. Also, it's very different because, I mean, my lowest listing right now, I think, is $2.5 million up to 12. So it's just a little different how you market towards and grab the attention of people who have a, second, third, fourth, fifth house for, millions of dollars.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's vastly That's definitely. You said something there that you have a business coach, you have a lot of strategies now, but something that you really have to get started with is like, who is our customer? Who it is that you actually want to do business with? I think is one of the most important things that you've got to figure out before you ever go try to do business with anybody. I always try to tell people, like, look, the person that does business with everyone does business with no one. Like, if you don't know who you're actually going out there and trying to serve, it makes it very difficult. And you alluded to what newspapers are they reading, where are they hanging out, what types of things are they interacting with. Tell us, like, what do you do with that information when you know all of the stuff that you should really know about your customer, when you know who they are, what they like, what they don't? How do you leverage that information and turn it into customers? How do you take that information and use it for good?
Well, one of the best things from my coach that I brought on, and I said, I brought this coaches on a little bit later because, frankly, when you're early on, you just don't have the money for it. I mean, my coach costs a damn fortune. It's totally worth it, but in the beginning, you just don't have what you don't have. But the information that she's helped me gather helps me fine tune where I put my marketing dollars, because every realtor can attest. I mean, I get probably 20 phone calls a day from solicitors, and those are just junk. But still, you're getting reps from every single golf course, country club, magazine. Everyone's trying to sell you ad space. How do you know what opportunities to take and which ones to pass? So when we started doing the analysis of what my perfect client, who they are, what they do, where do they hang out, I started to realize for one specific area, I do a lot of digital marketing, don't get me wrong, but for one specific area I'm wanting to tap more into, they're not really on social media. They're just not. They're not going to be, clicking a Google display ad, even though, once again, I put a fortune into those avenues as well. They like these hyper-localized weekly magazines. They just do. So when I got the opportunity, when, my rep called and said, hey, we have a rotation of 4. Every 4 editions, the back of the front cover, that person backed out, and you have like 2 days to decide if you want it, but it's expensive. It's have them on retainer on a yearly basis for every 4 issues on the full page on the back of the front cover. And I knew right away, that's what I want. Like, that's exactly what my coach and I had already been talking about. So I made the decision in about 5 seconds, even though it was a very expensive decision where usually I'd want to kind of figure it out. But that's where the rubber meets the road. It makes it a lot easier to know what I need to invest in, because otherwise you just get caught in, some random 9-hole golf course calls you and you're like, yeah, sure, I'll take that advertising spot. And you're like, God, man, well, $800 there, $200 there, $2,000 there. It starts to add up. You're not getting anything from it. So with the information you pull in, you can more narrowly invest your marketing dollars. And I think that's been so helpful. I'm seeing the best results from it, and I'm sleeping better because of it. So you're not always wondering, I'm just shotgunning everything, and that's not helpful. I know I have a succinct, sniper strategy, for lack of a better phrase.
Now, have you been in situations where you've put out advertisements and it didn't work? I mean, obviously, I think most people have, but have you been in situations where you invested because you thought it was going to work and it just didn't work out, or so on and so forth?
Oh, countless times. Probably more of those than the successful ones, to be honest. I got lucky as well because I got to, what's the expression? Smart people learn from their mistakes. Really smart people learn from someone else's mistakes. Yeah. So I see that even from the guy that I worked for early on. And it's not that he was a dumb guy. He was very, very, very intelligent, very successful, but everyone makes mistakes. So I got to watch some of it because I'd see him lose huge amounts of money. Mm-hmm. Guys, hey, I can guarantee you X, A, B, C, and D. And one of them was a $5,000 retainer that the guy just ran off with. Yeah. So they're pretty easy to spend money in this business. So I'm trying to be as succinct as possible and figure out where the bang for your buck is. And I'm not a guy that needs necessarily a return on investment. Like, hey, 1,000 mailers, I need 5 phone calls. I do a lot of kind of branding marketing where, it's going out there. I don't know if I'll actually get a phone call from this week's edition, but it's overall branding I want out in the community. But yeah, I've put so much money into things that don't matter. It's unbelievable how much money I've put into things that don't matter.
Well, I mean, I think it's really important. I mean, playing off the name again, Dusty Baker, a little baseball analogy, like, 3 out of 10 hits and you're a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And, in marketing and sales and business, you're going to be wrong a lot more times than you're going to be right, but you realistically only need to be right a couple of times. And usually that makes up for all the times that you weren't in a big way. But how do you know, like, how do you know which ones are winners and which ones are losers? Like, obviously, if you're losing money in advertising, you know that it's not going to work out. But what if you're making like a little bit of money? I mean, how do you know where the right advertising mediums are and where they aren't? Like, how do you decide that?
Yeah. Even outside of advertising, what type of business are you willing to take? It also throws in, I mean, yeah, I can take a lot more buyers. I can take a lot more listings, but let's say it's a low-end buyer. It's going to take them a year to find a place. They're a total time suck. And then they buy, like I said, obviously, boohoo Dusty, but if it's a low end sale at 700,000, is it worth it when I finally get that paycheck? If I've spent so much time, all that time I probably could have shifted over here and made a lot more money. So it's constantly figuring that out. And that's with marketing, and that's with even which clients to take on. It's extremely difficult. I'm very good at reading people. However, clients can be really tough to read. I've had some clients that the first few times you meet with them, they're just bizarre and it's not clicking and it's not going well. But then actually they turn out to be the nicest people in the entire world. And I've had it go the opposite way as well. I'd love to be able to fine tune, how to figure out which clients are going to be total pains and which aren't. I haven't been able to, and I am usually pretty darn good at reading people. And with marketing specifically, I'm always looking at it because, we get pitched a lot of things. Maybe it's a monthly thing, and where you say, oh, it's only $30 a month. And then, oh, that one's only $50 a month. And you start doing the math. Well, that's 360 a year. That's 600 a year. That's X. And, it starts to add up really quickly. So, a couple of years ago, I started just getting super, super thin and cutting out all the nonsense that doesn't matter. I mean, frankly, I don't invest $1 with Zillow. I think it's a colossal waste of time. So I don't do anything with any of that. Sorry if Zillow's like a sponsor. But things like that, I think are just,
I don't think that I don't think I would do well if I had Zillow as a sponsor of my
there's a lot of ways that people can get caught spending a lot of money that they're just suddenly, you add these subscription, and then you're thinking, I'm at $15,000 a month. How much do I have to make and do business to make that even make sense? So I'm always assessing what's happening. And one thing that I think I'm very different than a lot of agents, and this is not just looking out in the community, it's really knowing a lot of agents. They're very good at making money and they're very good at spending money. And it's not run as a business. So I see that more of they're either dumb or they have a big ego. And I don't think they're dumb. I think they just have a bigger ego where they like to sell this much real estate. But they just, spend this much money, and that's not a business to me. That's a hobby, I guess. And that's great if you're, that's your hobby. But I don't want to be the guy that sells the most. I want to be the guy that nets the most and truly run it like a business, frankly, because I have to. My wife doesn't work and I have 2 kids, so I have to. But that's why I'm always assessing, where is this money going? Where is this money going? Where is this money going? Because it just adds up way too quick. And it's hard to make money. It's not, no deal comes together easily.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure every dime is done very well. It's also another reason why I am shifting to specialize in luxury real estate, because I would much rather focus a lot more attention into a $4 million sale that'll make, a 6-figure commission than 8 sales at 500,000 where I'm running all around town and I can't give anyone my full attention, and there's marketing dollars just going God knows where. I like to be a lot more focused, and that helps me with the specific niche of real estate as well.
Awesome. I love it. So in making some of the transitions that you're making, you've been in the business for 10 years. Obviously you've developed a track record for success. Do you feel like, all the money that you've spent has really led you to developing a pretty solid brand? I mean, how important do you feel like it is to have a good brand in real estate, especially to the level and degree that you're doing it?
I think having a good brand is like having an annuity. I mean, it just keeps paying off. I don't like to invest in things that, that might have just a one-off return. I don't like that. So if I can invest in something like my brand that has a consistent return, I feel like those dollars are spent better. So I would say, my brand in general is that I'm professional, that I'm excellent at what I do, and I'm kind of everywhere. That's what a lot of people tell me. Hey, you're kind of just everywhere. It's like, well, yeah, that's what I want. Top of mind awareness everywhere. I was even in the jacuzzi at the athletic club I work out every morning at, and the guy said, man, I see your ads online everywhere. I'm like, oh, great. I don't do it. I have a digital marketing team. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what I want. Or they're opening up there's something called the Montecito Journal. They open it up and they see me, and then they open up Independent Magazine and they see me, and they get used to seeing me all around. So that kind of brand is huge, because then, at least in Santa Barbara, everyone knows realistically, everyone knows 5 agents really well, at least, if not 10. So how in the world do you stick out? And I want to make it an easy decision for them, where they say, I know a lot of agents, but Dusty is everywhere, and everything seems to work. And you just want to make that bridge crossing as quick and simple as possible. So to me, brand is absolutely the most important thing in the world. And I would rather play that long game where, hey, I'm investing in something that may not pay dividends for 5 years, but it eventually does. And one of the ways I do that is a lot of connections with real estate agents around the country. That's not going to be a quick return. It's just not. But I got a referral from a guy in San Francisco, about 3 weeks ago. I met this guy and had lunch with him 5 years ago and haven't seen him since. So we've been keeping in contact, but I haven't physically seen him. So if that's what if you're consistently planting seeds that, sprout in 5 years, the first 5 years might be tough, but once they start going, it's just snowballs. And I get a lot of referral business from other agents. And I did a lot of work to get those. Those did not come easily.
Do you think that is a big differentiator between people that are top producers and the people that aren't, is the need or desire or the craving for immediate gratification?
Oh, 100%. I think that's the difference between winners and losers in life. Are you the immediate gratification guy, or are you going to invest in yourself guy? Because immediate gratification guy is eating ice cream. The long-term investor is going to bed early and working out in the morning. So that's every single component of life. Can you delay gratification? There's actually an interesting study that they did. I'm not citing the study, so obviously there's no validity to this. But they would test young kids and say, do you want one cookie now? Or if you wait 15 minutes, I'll give you 2 cookies. And the kids that would wait the 15 minutes for 2 cookies, by and large, had higher IQs and more success in life, because just early ingrained, they could understand the delayed gratification.
That's interesting. I'll have to check that out. So let's spin this back for everybody listening to this. Obviously, you didn't start day one and were a top producer, and you knew that. But you seem to have followed the right people. You seem to have had the right mindset, from day one. I'm going to go learn from the best and learn from their mistakes too, not from trying to make my own. But, let's say we boil this down to, 3 to 5 steps, from day one back 10 years ago to where you are today. What are just 5 intentional actions that you could give somebody the advice to take? Hey, step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. And maybe in a few years, you'll be a top producer too. So running this back a little bit, what would you recommend somebody do to get to where maybe you are today?
I'd say the number one thing that sticks out now when I'm looking at other agents. So I'd say number 1, be as helpful as possible to everyone and always look for opportunities to learn. And that's people in your office, because there's a lot of business thrown around the office. If I get a buyer lead for $800,000 and I don't have time, I'm giving it to someone in my office. And who am I going to give it to? The guy who's constantly helpful. The guy who every week says, do you have an open house I can host? When he does host the open house, he gets me immediate feedback. He leaves the house cleaner than when he found it. Seller loves him. On it. Boom, boom, boom. So to be that guy in the office that everyone respects and sees they're working hard and they're taking every opportunity. There's a guy in my office. I just hired a new director of marketing and operations, but I knew it was going to take me probably 3 or 4 months to interview. I really wanted the right guy, but I needed someone in between. I was dying. So I reached out to a few people in the office, and the first few said no. These were new agents. And then one guy said yes. And immediately I just thought, you know what? That guy gets it. He gets it. Does he want to work for me for 3 or 4 months? No, that's not optimal. He wants to be an agent, but he's only been licensed for 6 months, and he could learn a lot. And I paid him too, but he just worked his ass off the whole time. And I just seeing, the first few I talked to, and that guy, I'm like, he gets it. He's going to succeed. Trust me. And now, if I have an open house I need, it's going to him first. If I have any, buyer leads, seller leads, it's going to that guy first. So being that guy in the office, I think that'll excel you real quick. And then I think, like we talked about, if you serve everyone, you serve no one. Riches are in the niches, certainly in the beginning. So choose something that you think you do really well at and just focus hard on it. So maybe you're someone who says, you know what, I'm going to crush it with digital marketing. Great, do that. And not just for a month. I mean, for a year or 2 or 3, just crush that. Or if it's a certain neighborhood and you're a door knocking type, do it. Just hit every house, once a month. I hated that. I never door knocked. I can't even fathom doing that. But it works. It 100% works if you do it well. So try and just focus as much as possible and just hit that hard. And also know that it doesn't take a huge pet peeve of mine is in movies. Someone's a schmuck, for the first hour and a half, and then they decide, you know what, I'm going to be a good guy, and they just make a few changes and everything changes. Yeah, it's not the case. I'm successful because I've made probably 10,000 good decisions, not 3 good decisions. So staying consistent. I ran a blog for a while, and I wrote for that for 3 years probably. I'd reach out to other companies and write for them. I was a contributing author for Inman for years. I spent so many hours and so much money on that. It was ridiculous. But it yielded a huge amount of attention, a good amount of referral business. It got my name on a national scale for, other referrals. So it was very good, but it's not a little bit of time and work you have to put into it. It's a lot. It's years. So if someone's just crushing it in the office, working hard, if they're taking every opportunity to learn, if they're narrowing some of their focus, and then they're really banking on this being, hey, this is going to be like a 6-month, 2-year type of work ethic, I think you're going to jump up immediately. Or immediately meaning 3 years or so.
Yeah, because the real elevator to success is work. When you think about it, like, everybody is looking for the magic pill. They're looking for the elevator that they can ride to the top. Like, everybody's looking for it. But the truth of the matter is, like, that in and of itself is just the work, because there are so few people that are willing to do it. They get to that next level of success so much faster than everybody else. And it's something that, if you're listening to this right now, it's a total paradigm shift from thinking that there is something out there that's going to get you to the next level super, super, super duper fast. I would love that if there was. I would probably take the drug. Like, I'm hooked. Like, give it to me. Let's go. But I have found in the pursuit of those things, in many cases, that they just don't exist. Like, the true fastest way to success is everything that you just said. It's consistent work, consistent service, consistent focus. Those things will get you to a level of success that you never even thought possible so fast. I think people truly just drastically underestimate how fast time flies. Like,
but that's a good thing and a bad thing. Listen, you said you had a 2-year-old. I bet you feel like he or she was born 5 seconds ago. I know. I feel like, mine's turning 2 on Friday. That was a fast 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I was having the same conversation with my wife the other day. It can feel long, but it's so fast. You can spend 2 years doing nothing. I'm sure we both have friends where you're like, wow, nothing in your life has changed in 2 years. And
I used to. I don't really anymore, but used to.
Good. Or you could have accomplished a ton in 2 years, a ton. So, the time goes fast. So it's kind of encouraging in that facet. But if you're spending every day trying to better yourself, I think you're in a really good spot. Another thing that I guess I'll add to my number 4 is my business coach is huge on being an interesting person. She's like, this is kind of a funny question, but there were times that you're not invited to a party. I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm not invited. I don't know. She said, think about why you wouldn't be, and think about why you would be if you are, because people want to be around interesting people. If you have nothing to contribute, what are you? She said, that's just kind of a real conversation you have to have with yourself. And it can be over a lot of different items. It doesn't have to be real estate related at all. In fact, it's probably better if you're not. But how many successful people do you know where you start chatting with them and you think, well, this is an interesting cat. Like, this is just a fun person to be around anyway. Just so happens they're wildly successful also, and I think they'll sell my house really well. But that's been an interesting kind of mental shift with my coach as well. And if people start that early on, and then they start, well, maybe I get a subscription to the Robb Report and I read it front to back, so I at least know kind of what's going on with, cars, watches, and scotch, or just something. Whatever.
I think this could be so easily translated into being an authentic person. It's so easy to be uninteresting because you're trying to be like everybody else. Like, you're looking out the window at the neighbor that's got the car that you want. You're staring at the Facebook guy that's got more followers that you want. Like, it's so easy to try to package yourself up as everybody else's template. And it's so uninteresting. Like, it's so inauthentic. It's so visible too. When you go out and you try to just be your authentic self, like, that is what is interesting. Like, everybody is truly fascinating. It's when they try not to be that they become so uninteresting. Like, I don't want to be around people that are just fake and trying to be around. And nobody else does anymore either. Like, there was a time 10 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago, like when that's how business was done. Like, you fake it till you make it, and you go buy that Benz because one day you'll be able to afford it, and you go dress crazy because that's what everybody wants. Like, there was a time where that stuff really truly mattered. But today, man, I mean, it's the authenticity, it's the authentic people that really just stand out, and all they're doing is being themselves. Like, that's what's so fascinating about it. So, I mean, I love that. It's a great.
One of my best friends he says it this way. He said, don't try and beat people at their own game because you'll probably lose. Change the rules. And when you're authentic, you're not competing against anyone because it's just you.
Yeah.
If you're trying to be better than that guy who has the $10,000 suit and the Ferrari, man, good luck, It's that, because that's his game. You're trying to beat him at his own game. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
You have a lot higher likelihood of succeeding. However, the one caveat, I have seen a few agents take that a little too far. Like, yeah, I think you still need to be professional. There's an agent locally who I won't say his name, but I'm like, man, you're being a little too authentic. I think you need to rein it in a little bit.
Maybe. I mean, the guy just might not be your cup of tea because he might be killing it. Like, he might be killing whatever his version of success is, and he might not give a crap about.
His version of success is just kind of how he feels every day. Yeah, he's probably doing really well. If he gauges success on how many homes he sells, it's not.
That's funny. But I think that's such a great point. Like, definitely be interesting, because today, like, if you're not, I mean, it's very difficult. Everybody's doing this day in and day out, and they're just sitting here scrolling. And it's the people that are interesting that are catching attention and are growing a following. And because there are so many people now that have flooded the digital space trying to make noise, if you're not interesting, you're not going to stand out. I mean, it's just it's so true. That's a great point, man. You've dropped a lot of great points on here today. I really appreciate it. I know we're going a little bit over. I want to respect your time. I appreciate you jumping on the podcast today and really just add a ton of value to our listeners. I know that I got a page full of notes here, and I hope anybody else that's listening to this does too, because there's a lot of great takeaways from this. Especially the 4 points that you dropped there for getting from where you were 10 years ago to where you are today is, something that's top 40 under 40 in your market. That's awesome, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on. It's always fun chatting, and I think it's exciting. I got the opportunity to have a lot of good people, speaking to me when I was younger. So hopefully this is helpful for everybody else. But yeah, it's fun chatting. Thanks for having me on.
So there's going to be people that are listening to this, like, I want to connect with this guy. Like, I want to follow him. Who's his business coach? There's going to be people that are going to have some of those questions. What's the best way for somebody to connect with you?
My website has everything. So just dustybakerrealestate.com. My email, my cell phone, I'm easy to get a hold of. All of my social media is at Dusty J. Baker. Dusty Baker was already taken. Dusty J. Baker is all my social media, but my website, you get a hold of me anyway. And I get a lot of people after like a podcast or something that, they'll email or text or call. I reply to everybody. Happy to help anytime. I've literally taken probably 300 people out to coffee. Yeah. Someone in college wants to, I'm on a board at my alma mater as well. So I'm still involved in a lot of young kids. Always happy to help. Always. So yeah, if you're listening, reach out.
Awesome. Definitely hit him up. We'll make sure that we link that stuff in the show notes, guys. Hopefully, again, you guys got a ton of value. I really appreciate you guys tuning in to the Marketing Genius podcast. Keep listening on our website. Make sure if you get a chance to rate us on iTunes, Google Play, we'd appreciate that so much. We will see you guys on the next episode. Peace.